Welcome back. I want to read to you from the Constitution, Article 6, Clause 2. This Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made, or which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby, anything in the Constitution or the laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding. Bottom line, according to the Constitution, that a treaty has the same impact as an amendment to the Constitution. Now, that's why they put a high bar that treaties had to be ratified by the Senate with 2/3 vote. And at that time, the Senate did not represent the people, it represented the states. And so the notion was that you'd have 2/3 of the states in alignment with what the federal government wanted to do, and as a result, it would be similar to a constitutional amendment. The problem is, the states no longer have representation in Congress. The Senate's not even looking at this as a treaty, and executive orders from the White House that they signed have this same force of law, and I shared that with you in the first segment. We've got Frank Gaffney here, and we're talking about how all of a sudden, between May 27th and June something, in like a week's time, we could sign away the sovereignty of the United States. Frank, what would that mean for the American people?
I believe it would be profoundly detrimental to their vital interests in so many ways. I'm fond of saying, Kevin, if you have an ox, it will be gored by this arrangement with the World Health Organization. Why is that? Because Tedros Ghebreyesus will be given under one or both of these treaties the power, as I said earlier, to determine when you have a public health emergency and what must be done in response to it.
And define
that
it?
That means he can define what is a public health emergency. And this isn't, again, a matter of speculation. We have him on the record already, even before he has this kind of authority, saying that things like climate change and reproductive rights and migration and poverty and instability and gun violence are all public health emergencies of international concern, not just pandemics, but all of these other things. And there's really every aspect of life, as I say, that would be touched as a result.
Race relations, sexuality, immigration, property and wealth distribution. But who is this guy? Who is Tedros Ghebreyesus? And what is the World Health Organization, and how did he get there?
Tedros Ghebreyesus is the top bureaucrat in this international organization that is one of the offshoots of the United Nations. It's Director General. And he was plucked from, I'd say, obscurity by the Chinese Communist Party for that post. Why? Well, I think it had a lot to do with the fact that he was a Maoist serving prominently in what was considered to be, at the time, by the United States government, a terrorist regime in Ethiopia. Just the perfect guy to run an international organization. And again, people might not appreciate this about the Chinese Communist Party, but it has assiduously worked to control all of these organizations. Sometimes they run them outright with Chinese nationals. Oftentimes they'll find a proxy like Tedros Ghebreyesus to do it. But as to whether he is faithfully following the Chinese party line, look no further than what he did in the pandemic. And again, that was, as we talked about before, Kevin, when he just had advisory responsibilities. But his advice was, first of all, that this virus did not come out of the Wuhan Institute of Virology. It was out of a wet market. That it was not transmissible human to human. That there was no problem allowing people to freely move in and out of countries, including from China, including from Wuhan. He also was the guy who said, don't mind your existing pandemic response plans. Follow the Chinese model, as it was called. What was that? That was the mask mandates. That was the social distancing. That was the quarantines. That was the lockdowns. That was the mandatory jabs with, as it turns out, inadequately tested and actually dangerous vaccines, so-called. vaccines, gene therapies. You put all that together, Kevin, and as I said earlier, by some estimates, the cumulative effect of all of that, not allowing inexpensive, widely available, extremely safe therapies like ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine to be utilized early in the treatment of a person with COVID, the needless death.